Thank you for joining us for a quick tutorial on the E-zekiel Church Management System calendar feature. Today is part 1 of the calendar feature, going over the calendar settings area. The E-zekiel Church Management Calendar is a fantastic way to organize your church events, equipment, and rooms for different happenings around the church. This powerful feature will help you and your church eliminate scheduling headaches and increase communication within your organization. To get started, click on the calendar feature in the main menu toolbar. Your first step is to create the general settings for your calendar. Simply select the General Settings gear cog. Start with naming your church and providing the general information about time, date, phone number, and whether or not you have multiple campuses for your church. Save your settings. Move on to the Campuses option. This will allow you to name the individual campuses for your church's organization. You can also add their address for individual purposes. You can also edit once you've created, of course. Permissions, similar to roles and permissions in the People Manager of the E-zekiel ChMS system, will allow you to create specific roles within your calendar. You can assign different individuals to one or multiple roles within these permissions. Simply create your role name and select Add. Now we can click into the role name to determine the special permissions that this role may have. Once you've selected your permissions, as you can see here, we are allowing this particular staff role to participate in main campus and satellite campus individual information, as well as providing global permissions for creating and editing views. We have some specific permissions here, as well as viewing events options. Once you are completed with selecting your permissions, select Save. You are now ready to use the autofill box to place individuals with these permissions into their role. Simply type their name and select it from the list provided. Now let's take advantage of the E-zekiel ChMS room and inventory setup. Let's skip the room setup option for now and head directly towards rooms. Room setups allow you to determine a setup name and a description for the types of rooms that you have in your church buildings. You can also add equipment that belongs in these particular room setups. By clicking onto the name of your setup after creating the setup name and description, you're able to determine the specific settings for that particular type of room. As you can see here, we have a standard room setup, which includes specific equipment that we can add or edit, and we can also add an image showing the exact expectations for this room setup. This allows for easy communication between teams or parties within the church when trying to reset up or break down a room. Obviously, this will help in consistency with church and room setups. Save this particular room and it's added to your settings. Now let's look at the equipment setup. Equipment can be viewed as your inventory log within the church. Simply create your item name, enter the total quantity for which you have of that item, and a brief description of the item itself. These items can now be used for different event requests in your calendar. Of course, clicking into the name will allow you to edit that particular inventory item whenever you need. Now that we've created our room setups and equipments, we can click on Rooms. This will allow you to create and name the major buildings around your campus. Once created, you can develop the individual rooms within each of those particular buildings. As you can see, within the youth building, we have multiple room setups. Then you can apply the particular setup and assign equipment to each of those rooms as we've already created these properties. So clicking into the gathering hall, you'll be able to see that we need one projector, 2 long tables, and another projector. We can also add or edit any other inventory information, as well as add particular setups that we've already created. If this is a classroom, we can add a classroom setup to the event. Save your settings, and now the gathering hall is set. Rooms will be used to reserve particular areas, of course, within the church for specific events. This will be added to the properties as you add an event, as you'll see in part 2 of this video series. Moving on to vehicles, we see the same general outlay and the general principles as we see with equipment and room setups. It allows you to determine the type of vehicle that you have, edit a description of the vehicle, and then these can be used for specific events when created in the calendar system. Properties allow you to organize your events. By using different color schemes, the color coordination allows to an assistance within the calendar filtering to keep your calendar organized with a visual standpoint. You can create different properties simply by adding a property name. You can always edit the particular color code as needed. Finally, let's then look into our responsibilities. Responsibilities allow you to assign one or more individuals to approve or oversee particular areas within event approval. Thus, if an individual is responsible for child care, simply use the autofill box to add them to this responsibilities list. Once you are finished with your settings applications for your calendar, you are ready to start building your calendar events. Simply select the calendar tool, and you will see a preview of the calendar that you have created. This tutorial has allowed you to see the building blocks for your new E-zekiel ChMS calendar. Part 2 of the E-zekiel ChMS calendar overview video series will teach you the functions of event creation and views in the calendar itself. Thank you for joining us, and good luck with beginning your new E-zekiel ChMS calendar.